Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge cycling podcast with Benji Naesen. We asked, and the cycling gods delivered to Benji and I just a cruisy, boring breakaway stage. This is Tirreno Adriatico Stage 6 recap from Castelraimondo to Lido di Fermo. And 169 Ks, rolly parcours in the first 80 Ks or so, and then bit of a flat section, some like 5Ks, 3.5% climbs, just leg sappers, then a circuit around Lido di Fermo doing, again, another leg sapper of about 2Ks, 3 to 4%, nothing too crazy. And let's be honest, the Peloton decided to take today off. Before we get into that, I want to mention our show partner, Lecol, www.lecol.cc. You'll know them from last year when they came on for the Giro and the Vuelta. Well, for the Classics coming up soon, we've got some pretty big news that Lecol are organising for us. Maybe some special guests, maybe even people that have ridden the Classics and allegedly might know more about riding cobbles than us. Although, I mean, how would you rank your cobbled tier status, Benji? Like, are you a cobbled connoisseur? Like, what is your official title?
I don't know. I think that there should be a title for it, but like all jokes aside, I'm not actually that knowledgeable when it comes to cobbles. I think it's just in our blood as Flemish people that we are force-fed cobble knowledge in the first years of school. And every single day we have to select a cobble section and talk about it with a presentation at school, give it a 1 hour presentation about the Oude Quaremont. And I think because of that, every single day doing that, that is how the knowledge was built. And yeah, it's not really my credit. It's the school system in Belgium that is enforcing these rules. So thank you very much for doing that instead of learning me to pay my taxes properly. So thank you.
That's like school system says if Philip Gilbert attacks on the cobbles with 40 Ks, you must follow. It's the rules. Anyway, enough ribaldry. This is a serious podcast for serious people. Stage 6 of Tirreno Adriatico. Breakaway went pretty early. Simone Velasco for Gazprom. Jan Bakelants, you'll know his name well, for Intermarché, Wanty Gobert. This was their chance, Benji, to win a World Tour race this year. It's their one chance. Mads Schmidt for Israel Startup Nation in the green jersey. What is the green jersey in Italian races? Because it's not the points.
KOM, because Pogacar is fast. He was second.
Okay. Brent Van Moeren, Lotto Soudal. Nelson Oliveira, you'll know him actually reasonably well, a bit of an engine. He's the guy that bridged, I think, Soler across in one of the moves in the Vuelta, and Emilius Leipinsch for Trek Segafredo. So a couple of engines, a lead-out man for Caleb Ewan who abandoned, and a couple of quick guys, Mads Schmidt and Leipinsch. Do you know much about Velasco, Benji?
I remember him being a climber more than an actual sprinter, but I could be completely wrong about this. I know that he was actually quite good in the past. I think he won Laiguaglia at one point in his career. Was it last year or 2019? 2019 he won Laiguaglia, so that's not exactly the easiest race to win, and definitely against the competition that was there. Actually, the competition wasn't that great that year in that race. No, it's nowhere near what it was these days. Nicola Bajoli,
was the strongest ever this year.
Not the other Bajoli. Sobrero was third, so yeah, that says a lot about the competition. Not saying that these riders are bad, saying that these riders aren't the likes of the competition that did it this year. Like I think Bernal was here at Laiguaglia this year, so crazy start list for all the races in February. But yeah, this breakaway, I think that the names that I see in that have an opportunity at doing something as if this break makes it, because looking at the parcours, there's some hills in the parcours, but that parcours is not exactly the parcours that you would say, oh, this guy's going to drop everybody on this hill. It's going to be a bit of a tactical thing on the hills, and perhaps if they make it and actually work together, it might end up in a group sprint. But that will all depend on whether the Peloton would do something. Now, if these dudes would finish the stage and fight for it, then I would be looking at the likes of a Emils Lippens with a sprint. He was the guy that Bennett had trouble with in the Vuelta, and Bennett actually got DQ'd in that stage because of what he did to Lippens in that stage. And I think I would also look at Mats Schmidt because he also has a bit of a sprint in that group. For the rest, Jan Bakelans has a punch, a bit more of a hilly rider, but the last few years he's not been on that level.
The point of this stage is that the Peloton decided to take the day off. They let the gap get out to a lot, 3-4 minutes, kept growing. And I think that was due to yesterday being so hard. It was brutal. And MVP went deep, so he didn't really care about today's stage, it seemed. Wout van Aert was also buckled. Pogacar and UAE were happy with their 1 minute 12 lead on Wout van Aert. And who else was a contender? I guess Cofidis with Viviani, Ballerini for Quickstep. Ewan's no longer here for Lotto Soudal. So there's really only Quickstep and Cofidis that were real candidates. And Quickstep were pacing with Stibar, and they kept pacing later, but I just don't think they were into it. Alaphilippe was tired, and it's not just the leaders who are tired, it's the lead-out men and the domestiques. They are tired and cold after yesterday too. But anyway, I think the big thing that happened in today's stage, Benji, was Simon Carr when he crashed into some unsignalled road furniture. Very, very dangerous. And he's lucky not to be... Well, I don't know. Have you heard any news about his condition, Benji? Because he spun around at 50 k's an hour.
Yeah, he spun around at 50 k an hour and he hit that sign pretty hard. I think that he went on the bike relatively quickly. I don't think it looked like he hit his head or anything, so that's the good part, I think. But the rest of his body hit that sign completely on the floor as well afterwards. I found it funny how the RCS dude who came out of the car to take a look at him was like, I'm going to take 20 seconds to put my mask on, and then I'm going to take a look at at Simon Carr there. Good that he put his mask on, but he could have done it a lot quicker than that. But all in all, I think the point we're trying to make here is that unsignaled road furniture should not be there, and definitely not in a circuit race. Now, this was just before the circuit started, I think. So you can't say, oh, this is in the circuit part. But in the circuit part, the exact same thing was happening. I think only a few parts were actually signaled. So that shouldn't be the case, and definitely not in a race organized by some high-end organizer like RCS. They should be able to fix that and make sure that their races are safe for the riders that are riding it. And that's not the case here, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, UCI, you're banning hugs for riders that are in a bubble tested against each other, and you're not even brave enough to come out in your press release and directly say it's for optics. And then you got nothing addressing unsignalled road furniture, which seriously injured Greg Van Avermaet last year in Liège, Benji, I think it might have been. And now Simon Carr could have got pretty badly hurt too. It's not fucking good enough. So I guess the riders and teams, and hopefully the new union, can keep putting them under pressure to focus on the things that are important, which are unsafe finishes, which there's a lot which breach the current rules. We don't even need new rules for the unsafe finishes. We just need them to be enforced. And then unsignalled road furniture. But anyway, Peloton gave up. They stopped pacing at about 21 k's to go. The gap went out to 2:46. Stefan Kung was like, oh, can I do a Fabio Fellini yesterday and bridge across? Nope, he couldn't. It was 3 minutes in 18 k's, a bit much. UAE were just soft pacing on the front. They couldn't care less about the breakaway. Alpecin pulled for like a minute and they were like, nah. And it was very, very obvious the breakaway was going to win. Even DSM with 3 riders for Max Kanter could only bring it down to 2:20 with 10 k's to go. They then had this last climb, and as we said, the quickest man in the group was, or one of the 2 quickest men is Mills Leipinch. He's got top 5 in World Tour sprints before, particularly in the UAE just recently, behind Van der Poel in stage 1, and he was dropping on that climb. Nelson Oliveira was pacing, the Movistar rider, just pacing all day. And Mads Schmidt paced after him. Bakelants and Brent van Moer and Velasco weren't pulling through so much. But I think Mads Schmidt was pretty cognizant of the fact that Leipinch was the biggest candidate to beat him in a sprint. 3Ks to go. The break's clearly going to win. Lapinge couldn't get back on, even though 3 of the group were playing a bit of cat and mouse, not pulling in the last 10Ks. But in the flat, they pretty much did pull. Madsvert Schmidt, it was pretty clear to me if Israel Startup Nation was soft pulling on the front with about 2Ks to go. Nelson Oliveira, Benji, run me through his last 2 kilometers and what was going through his mind, the Movistar rider.
I don't really know. He it felt like he was trying to do a lead out for somebody else throughout the entire last part.
The ghost of Marc Soler.
The entire stage he's been yeah, yeah, exactly. But like we know that Nelson Oliveira is a time trialist. He's got decent climbing abilities. He's pacing the entire day, and in the last 2 kilometers he doesn't directly make a move, but leading into the last kilometer he decides to make a move early, before the sprint, like just before the sprint. And we're not talking about 500 meters before the sprint, just before the sprint. So obviously everybody's going to follow him. Nobody's going to be like, playful, you need to close that down. Everybody's going to try and close it down. And that is not going to give him anything. That is going to place the people that are reacting to him in the perfect spot, and that is Matt Switchman in second wheel. I think Velasco was pretty far down, I think in 4th or 5th wheel. Brent van Meer, not Brent van Meer, in 3rd or 4th wheel. So those were heading for the mass sprint. Well, sprint.
Well, there was a left-hand corner.
5 people.
And I think Bakelants was on Madsvert Schmidt wheel. Madsvert Schmidt was second wheel, getting this lovely lead out. And Brent van Meer tried to come up and take that wheel off him. And Bakelants said, nah, this ain't my first rodeo. And it was pretty much just a straightforward mano a mano 5x5 sprint with, or 4 by sprint with Oliveira just leading them out. He leads them out through that last corner. Madsvert Schmidt did a really smart thing where he didn't open up his sprint too early. He was in the drops, like keeping tension in the correct gear, turning over the pedals, but he was looking over his left shoulder. No one could have gone up his right side because Oliveira was there in the barriers, and waiting to see who would attack first or snap first. And someone would think it might have been Velasco or Bakelants. And the minute they got up to his back wheel, he kicked. Brent van Meer got a little bit of a draft out of him, but Madsvert Schmidt was too strong. And after a long day in the break, 200 meter plus sprint, no one came close to him. Madsvert Schmidt taking out a pretty big win, actually, for Israel Startup Nation. They're winning a little bit more already. He came first, Brent van Meer second, Simone Velasco third, Bakelants fourth, and Nelson Oliveira fifth for his troubles. He can take solace in the fact that he beat Lapinge because he dropped him on the climb with 8Ks to go. But otherwise, a complete waste of time for him being in the break all day. Got no idea what he was doing. Merlier
no clue.
Beat Ballerini and Viviani for the bunch kick into the line. Any other thoughts on this day, Benji? Lovely to have a breakaway win and a bit of a quieter day for once.
Yeah, that's true, but also that it looks like Israel Startup Nation has a bit of a... Yeah, they're pretty good at winning breakaway stage if nobody in the Peloton cares. In the Giro, they did it with Dowsett.
That's a skill, though.
And today they did it with Madsvert Schmidt. It's still a win. It's still a win. And it still is a deserving win. Like, obviously it's not the most competitive win because, the Peloton just gave 5 men the opportunity of winning a stage in a World Tour race. But then again, it's still a victory, so I think you can't really blame anyone for that. They can celebrate it as a win like any other, and I think it's a deserving win, all despite, because they wanted to win the stage, and they did it. I think that Van Aert said he wanted to win one more stage in this Tirreno yesterday, and he didn't do it today, and he's not going to do it tomorrow because Gano's going to win tomorrow. So, there's not much else to say about today's stage. I think that I like these breakaway battles, but I also just enjoy watching the last kilometer of them because the rest is kind of, it's going to end up in this group fighting it out in the end, and they did. So I'm glad they did. I'm glad these people enjoyed their chance at a victory in Tirreno Adriatico. I'm also kind of disappointed in the group because they didn't do enough to not make it a sprint. If you're in the group with Mats Wood-Schmidt, you're going to try and drop him more, I think. You're going to try and get a bit of an attack in the last 10 kilometers. Nelson Oliveira, like we said it already, he did nothing. And he decided to attack in the last 500 meters instead of like...
Everyone listening, you might think we were just skipping stuff, being lazy today. No one attacked at all. It was just the final sprint. They didn't attack each other once, except for dropping Lapinge, who just dropped on the climb. So we weren't leaving things out. But anyway, Mats Wood-Schmidt said afterwards, I'm extremely happy. After 5 years as a pro rider, I finally managed to win the World Tour. It's incredible. On the last lap, I understood that we would make it, and with my breakaway companions, we cooperated until the final sprint. Brackets, I don't know why they did. They might have been a bit stupid to do so. End brackets. That was just from me, by the way. Back to him. I want to thank my team. We came into this event with a plan to race in an aggressive way. And that's true. He went in the break on Prati Detivo.
Yep.
That one didn't work out so well. But credit to him.
If you
try multiple times... Pardon?
He did try pretty long on Prati Detivo. And again, like you were just about to say, if you try enough times, then he deserves to try and win one in the end as well. And like... Obviously, I said it a bit jokingly that they've got a bit of a, they just accidentally seem to win more of these stages that are given by the Peloton, but in the end, it's a victory, and if the rest doesn't want to win, that's their problem and not his. He got a victory in World Tour, and he should celebrate it, and I'm happy for him. I think he's a bit of a fan favorite in Denmark as well. I've been a relative fan of his time trial skills as well. So Denmark, I'm happy for you. You're going to be happy. I think that
Magnus Cort
everybody
yesterday.
that followed Gauss's channel was also happy last year in the Giro. And indeed, Magnus scored yesterday, and so 2 in a row for Denmark. I don't think it's going to be 3 in a row, I'm afraid.
I know, yeah. Mats Wood-Schmidt beats Ganna in the TT tomorrow. But Benji, on that point,
I'd be down.
Wout van Aert, Alaphilippe, MVDP, Pogačar, MVDP. It is fucking hard to win a World Tour level race in 2021.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of teams who'll be pretty jealous of Israel Startup Nation right now. We talk about the De Koenigs, Ineos, Jumbo Visma, and I guess MVDP Alpecin. A lot. There's 21 World Tour teams, 19, can't remember how many, that don't get a lot of press. So Intermarché had a big opportunity today. I think it's a shame Bacalance didn't try something to see if would they really chase him. But anyway, tomorrow's stage, the San Benedetto del Tronto TT, 10Ks, pancake flat on the coast.
Ooh.
It's an out and back. They've done it a few times. Well, they always have it. They had it last year. Ganna destroyed the course record coming out of lockdown. And I mean, you don't need to tune into this podcast to realise that Ganna's the favourite. That being said, I'm going to have a look at Wout van Aert's odds a little bit, just to see. Just have a look.
You think
Maybe
that,
Ganna...
You think that Ganna's going to beat the scores record of last year?
No, he won't. Because yesterday was brutal. He was in the break. He did the course record last year coming out of perfect training, I assume, after lockdown. And he's not wearing the aero base layer anymore, which gives him 25%. He'd be getting beaten by Jai Hindley without that aero base layer. So, yeah.
At least he's not wearing a laser helmet, so...
Yeah, I mean, fuck, if you gave him that helmet. Whew, I guess Wout's got to carry that. What if Wout was wearing the cask, mate? He'd beat the course record. Anyway, we've lost the plot. We'll see you all tomorrow for the Tirreno Adriatico Stage 8 recap. Should be pretty interesting. No, actually, Pogačar's got... I mean, he can't lose a minute 12 on this TT, so no one's... the leader's jersey's not changing hands. Hope you enjoyed the pod. See you tomorrow. Ciao.